I got bad news for you guys. 90% of new insurance agents fail. And in this video, I'm going to give you the top 3 reasons why new insurance agents fail and what you can do to avoid failure. Greetings and salutations. My name is David Duford, owner of Duford Insurance Group, where I train and recruit agents nationally to sell things like final expense and Medicare, both face-to-face and over the phone. Thank you so much for being here. Again, the topic of today's video is explaining to you the top 3 reasons why new insurance agents fail to the tune of 90% of new insurance agents. Just as a side note, I did a survey sometime in 2020 about how agents fail the business and for what reasons they do fail. You should be able to see that link somewhere in the description box below. As me being in the recruiting business, I'm very interested in preventing failure because the more success I can see in my agency, the more success I'll see personally. Likewise, so many prospects need our help and there's not enough agents to help them. So I'm very interested in discovering why agents fail. So what you're about to hear are the reasons that we derived from our survey. We surveyed around 103 agents, I think, on their reasons why they failed. So let's jump right in with the first. So the biggest reasons that agents failed in our survey was because they ran out of money. This is a really important factor that, especially if you're considering the route of, say, an independent agent or an agent where you would have to invest money in leads, you need to really think seriously about what the implications are with this number one reason why agents fail. Agents fail a lot in this business because they simply don't have enough money to invest on a consistent basis into their weekly lead flow. And as soon as they run out of money in these types of business models, they run out of leads. And when you don't have people to see, you don't have an insurance sales business, you have an idea or a hobby. So how do you prevent running out of money? Well, there's a couple of things that you can do, a couple of tips I'll give you. First of all, make sure you have enough money before you start in the business. That's a big one. One of the biggest problems I see from a lot of recruiting organizations is that they recruit no matter if the agent has a couple $100 or a couple of pennies to rub together. Don't worry, buy 5-plus-year-old leads. They're just as good as the fresh ones. And the truth is, there is a requirement, I think, that agents need to have in order to run their business successfully. For example, in my agency, I'm looking for a minimum ad spend of somewhere around $400 to $500 a week. And that, while that's a little bit more of a part-time spend, we can kind of sort of make that full-time depending on the circumstances. But that's at least good enough to give you the proper exposure to running your business model, to seeing enough people, to seeing if this business is right for you. Because on the flip side, the truth is this is a numbers game at the end of the day. And you have to simply have enough people to see. And without enough money to invest in leads, you're not going to see enough people for most agents in the businesses that at least I'm involved in. What this translates to is somewhere around a $1,500 to $2,000 monthly minimum that we're looking for in order to join my agency. A lot of agencies are the same that take the proper investment seriously. And the good news, though, with any sort of business like in final expense, it's going to take about a month to see if you really have the knack for it. It's not like a business that takes 6 or 12 months to just have the eureka moment where you immediately get it. So it's something where you don't have to have piles and piles of cash set aside in order to really test the business to see if there's an opportunity. There's some other factors too mixed in with the running out of money issue. For example, maybe you didn't have much in the way of savings to start, or maybe your bills outstretched what you actually could earn as a new agent. So you got to take those things into consideration as well. Maybe you shouldn't spend excess money when you're starting a business. Maybe you should consider being lean, and as Dave Ramsey says, eat rice and beans and rice. There is some value in being frugal, especially in the beginning years when you're learning the business, and because you're somewhat new, you may not necessarily be the best at the business. So make sure you take the money question seriously. Make sure you have enough money to invest in leads properly, and make sure that you manage your money well enough so that you can survive. Because after all, if you're selling insurance, you're most likely going to be on a straight 100% commission, so be prepared. Number 2 reason why agents fail is because they have not enough prospects. They don't have enough people to see. And again, this is why I mentioned earlier that the insurance sales business is ultimately a numbers game. The more people you have to see, the more people you can see, the more opportunities that you have to make money, make enough money to cover your lead expenses and then to profit handsomely. Likewise, the lesser amount of people to see, the lower odds you have of hitting your production goals and making the income that you need to justify being in this business. One of the sayings that I give to agents all the time, and then I've heard from multi-million-dollar agency owners alike, is that the more prospects you have, the better odds of success that you have. In other words, what I like to tell my agents is that this is a business where there's safety in numbers. This is a business where if you want to have the best problem in the world, it's having too many people to see, versus the worst problem in the world, if you've been in this business, is not having anybody to see or too few people to see. So when you come into this business, don't ever shortchange yourself on having enough prospects, on having enough leads. This is the most critical aspect of your business, is having the numbers, having the amount of people necessary to yield and leverage whatever opportunity is in it. So maximize that to your furthest extent, and don't go cheap on getting leads. Get the best leads that money can buy and get enough of them so that you can give yourself the best odds of success in this business. Third reason why agents fail is they don't necessarily pick the best agency for what it is that they ultimately want to achieve. Now, I think there's a couple of reasons why this is the case. Maybe, for example, an agent got drunk on the Kool-Aid. They saw the flashy cars and stacks of cash, and they thought that meant instant success. And then they find out that what was promised isn't necessarily delivered, and their actual full offer is nothing ever compared to what maybe some other organizations that are actually aligned with their goals. So sometimes people just get tricked, really, into thinking that these MLM insurance agencies are the best thing since sliced bread. So we can understand that process. Many of us have been exposed to that and don't know any better coming into this business. So that's one reason I think people just don't understand, because they come in and they think that's the only options. The other thing is, I think it's really important for you guys, if you're watching this video, you're probably the type that does due diligence. So you're kind of in a special category that most people aren't. You're serious about doing due diligence and contemplating which options are best suited for your goals. So that's a big reason why agents fail, is they just jump in with the first thing they see, and they don't really seriously think, okay, wait a minute, is this a good fit? Does this, the value of the corporation and its culture, align with what my goals are? They just jump in because, hey, it sounds good enough, and they don't really think too much. So that's a big reason why there's a lot of failures, that they don't consider what it is that they really want. Do they want to build an agency? Do they want to be involved in an MLM? Do they want to learn how to be a producer, become a top producer, and learn to sell the stuff versus recruiting? These things happen after they choose an agency. And, that's usually not a good idea. Like, if you want to get married, you should probably, hang out with your spouse for a little while, or future spouse, potential spouse. Maybe kind of check them out and see if they're actually worth spending around with. Just kind of in the same case, the working with agencies, you want to make sure you got a good pick, because, boy, you pick the wrong pick, it can damage you for life, as they say. So how do we prevent from making these mistakes that these other agents who failed the business make? So we can kind of recap everything here, and I'll give you my advice on what to do. First of all, don't come into this business inadequately capitalized. You need to come in with some kind of cash flow from an existing spouse to take care of your bills. That can help a lot. You can also come in and have savings set aside, or possibly even do insurance sales part-time. I did that twice, once after I failed the business and came back. It's totally fine to start part-time if you're covering your bills is really important and you don't necessarily have somebody else earning an income. But the point is money is huge in this business, and cash flow is huge. And making sure your income covers your bills, but not only your bills, but also your lead expenses too. Because if you don't have the income or savings or bankroll necessary to do that, then you may not be in the best position for success. And what's worse in this business is when somebody has the opportunity and capability professionally from a talent standpoint, but they don't have the money to withstand the storms because they just didn't have the discipline or the appropriate setup when getting started. You can also consider something like my affiliate partner, Fundwise. They go out and shop the major credit lines that are available that you may be able to qualify for. This is a way to also fund your startup. I started on this business with a credit card. Actually, my last of 5 that I had back in 2011. So if without that, I wouldn't be here. This may or may not be right for you. I'm not saying you have to do this, but there's something to consider depending on your position in life. The other thing, too, that's important is just make sure that you buy the right leads and enough quantity of leads to give yourself the best chances of success. Don't cheap out on the leads. Don't do too few leads. If anything, do more than you think you can do. It's easier to recover from too many people to see than too few people to see. And last but not least, please do your due diligence. Before you jump into bed with any agency, make sure you check out what they have to offer. One important component of any agency that you're going to join is your upline. Who's going to be responsible for training you, teaching you, instructing you? For example, people who join my agency, they deal directly with me. And so they know by my videos what to expect. And I think there's some safety in that. But a lot of organizations, you don't really know who you're going to deal with. But they're the most important component to your success, I think. So it's important to make sure that you consider that carefully and make sure that your first choice is your last choice. That's what you need to be thinking about as you join some agency in the business. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to avoid failure. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. If you like this video, thumbs it up and certainly subscribe if you'd like this kind of daily content every single day. My name is David Duford, owner of Duford Insurance Group. Thanks for watching. See you.